is advised.
Omaima Nelson was born in a poor village in southern Egypt near the border with Sudan. Her father was a violent, abusive man, both physically and sexually, to her and her mother. When she was just 6 years old, Omaima was circumcised by her father without anesthesia. She was subjected to type 1 female genital mutilation. Type 1 female genital mutilation is a partial or total removal of the clitoris glands, which include the external and visible parts of the clitoris, including the clitoral hood. There are 4 types of female genital mutilation that are still practiced around the world. More than 200 million girls and women alive today have been subjected to this practice. This made any type of sex painful and traumatic from then on. Tired of the abuse, Omaima's mother left her abusive husband. The family moved to a Cairo slum called the City of the Dead. It was called the City of the Dead because shacks are built in and among the tombs. People who lived there lived in utter poverty. But Omaima was a survivor. And as she got older, she submitted herself to loathsome sexual humiliations in order to survive. She used sex as a means of survival despite the painful after effects of the circumcision she still felt every day. When she was 18, Omaima met an American oil worker, and the two started having a sexual relationship. Omaima's mother insisted the two get married, and Omaima, seeing a way out of the crushing poverty she lived in, agreed. The couple married, and when her husband's job in Egypt finished, they flew to his home in Texas. The year was 1986. But the marriage didn't last. Omaima now found herself in a strange country. She didn't speak English very well and didn't have any money. She drifted around taking jobs as a housekeeper or nanny, sometimes getting modeling gigs, but her main source of support was a series of sugar daddy boyfriends. She would also get involved with a man and move in with him right away, spend his money freely, and then when he confronted her or she just got tired of him, she would rob him and disappear. One man, Robert Hansen, she tied to a chair and threatened with a shotgun before robbing him. Being a survivalist, she also was arrested and convicted of several crimes. December 10, 1987, 2 counts of auto theft and shoplifting. July 10, 1989, shoplifting and battery for biting a security officer. July 31, 1989, hit and run with property damage. January 24, 1990, driving under the influence. June 17, 1990, driving without a license. November 1990, assault with a firearm. After some time of drifting like this from man to man, town to town, she ended up in Orange County, California, where in the fall of 1991 she met Bill Nelson. It was easy to see why Bill, 56, was attracted to 23-year-old Omaima. She was an olive-skinned beauty with a model physique, very petite and barely 5 foot tall. Bill was a large man at 6'4" and 230 pounds. He was the kind of guy who wanted only the best. He drove a red Corvette, wore bright red cowboy boots, and a big gold belt buckle. He enjoyed showing off his wealth wherever he went. Friends described him as larger than life. He was also a former pilot who was dishonored after he was convicted of smuggling marijuana in Texas and electronics in Mexico in his DC-3, and he served 4 years hard time in a federal prison. But he managed to rebuild his life by attaining a job at a mortgage company. To say that Omaima Uri and Bill Nelson had a whirlwind romance is an understatement. Just 5 days after they met for the first time over a game of pool in a Huntington Beach, California bar, the lovely Egyptian immigrant and a brash Texan drove to Phoenix and got married. The couple were married by telephone. The ceremony was conducted by an Egyptian priest. What he didn't tell Omaima was that he was still legally married to another woman. His divorce from his previous wife was not yet finalized, meaning that their marriage wasn't legal. After their quickie wedding, and Bill, being 56 years old, was good at quickies, sometimes being a two-pump Charlie, he took her on a road trip honeymoon back to Texas and Arkansas to meet his relatives. Needless to say, most of them were skeptical of his new very young wife, who was actually younger than some of his children. But while riding horses at the family ranch, the horse she was riding threw her. She impressed him with her toughness by simply asking for aspirin and vodka. The couple returned to California and set up home in Bill's apartment in Costa Mesa. On November 28, Thanksgiving Day, Bill spoke with his daughter Margaret on the phone. He told her how everything was going great and invited her to join them for dinner. But Margaret refused because she did not approve of the marriage. It was to be the last conversation she ever had with her father. 3 days later, early in the morning, December 1st, Jose Esquivel was awakened by a loud pounding on his door. He looked outside and saw a red Corvette parked outside. Not recognizing the car, he didn't answer the door. After a while, the visitor went away. Then about 1 p.m., the visitor in the red Corvette returned. This time, Jose answered. When he opened the door, he saw Omaima, a woman he had briefly dated. She was crying and had some cuts on her face and hands. Omaima told him that her husband had attacked and raped her, so she had to kill him in self-defense. I cut him to pieces, she said. She then showed Jose a garbage bag filled with human organs. Omaima told Jose that she had been tied to the bed before, being cut on the breast and then raped by Williams. She claimed that she managed to knock him unconscious with a lamp. Then she said she had chopped him up into pieces and that his head was in the freezer. She told Jose that she would give him $75,000 and 2 motorcycles if he would help her get rid of the body. Jose played it cool. He told Omaima to meet her at her apartment while he arranged to get a truck. But when she left, he called the police. When the police arrived at Bill's apartment, they found Omaima sitting outside waiting for Jose. They looked through the bags as she looked on quietly. Police found organs with gooey remains inside the bags. The police immediately detained Omaima for questioning, which lasted all that Sunday night. On December 2nd, 1991, the Monday after Thanksgiving weekend, 56-year-old Bill Nelson was reported missing when he failed to show up at work. Meanwhile, police got a warrant to search Nelson's apartment. Inside were numerous boxes of computer parts, but among the boxes were some suitcases. Inside the suitcases were trash bags. Inside the trash bags were human remains. Police also found a broken lamp and clothes iron with tissue and human hair on them. As they searched further, they found even more grisly evidence. In the bedroom, the mattress was soaked in blood, and the bedposts were all broken. In the bathroom, a skin-gutted human torso was suspended from clothes hangers above the tub, bleeding out like a side of beef. But the worst was in the kitchen. Inside a deep fryer, 2 human hands floated in the oil, mixed with turkey meat. In the trash, they found pieces of a human hip mixed in with turkey and cranberry sauce. Inside the freezer, behind a bag of frozen vegetables, they found a large round object wrapped in foil. It was Bill's head. Back at the police station, Omaima was confronted with the evidence, but Omaima kept changing her story as to what happened. She paced and rambled on, at times acting as though Bill were still alive, at other times claiming a voice like a demon had made her dismember her husband. She repeatedly claimed that Bill had raped her and she had only killed him in self-defense. But when she was forensically examined at a nearby hospital, they found no evidence of sexual trauma. They also stated that the cut marks on her face, hands, and breasts were not defensive wounds, but they would be consistent with injuries sustained while cutting up a body. The cause of death was determined to be from multiple blunt force injuries to his skull, consistent with being hit by the lamp and iron found at the scene. The medical examiner also found ligature marks around Bill's ankles, but since Bill's hands had been cut off, there was no way to determine if his hands were tied as well. But the broken bedposts at the scenes were indication that they were. The medical examiner also noted that the body had been dismembered with unusual precision, as if his killer had done this before. But perhaps most disturbing was the fact that nearly 100 to 130 pounds of Bill remains was still missing. The Nelsons' neighbor told police that he had heard the garbage disposal running constantly for 2 days starting the evening of Thanksgiving. He said he could hear the motor grinding as though it was straining. In December 1992, Omaima Nelson stood trial for murder and dismemberment of her husband. She also faced 3 felony charges in an unrelated case that would be tried simultaneously with the murder case. She's accused of tying up Robert Hansen, a former boyfriend, and demanding money at gunpoint in November 1990. She is charged with assault with a deadly weapon, false imprisonment, and attempted robbery in that case. Deputy Public Defender Thomas Mooney said that he would not be denying that Omaima had killed Bill, but said that it would be up to the jury to decide what her state of mind was at the time she killed him. He argued that Omaima killed Bill in self-defense after suffering sexual and physical abuse at his hands. He went on to say that Omaima had been victimized throughout her life by men. While growing up in Egypt, Omaima had been molested as a child and had been circumcised by her father without anesthesia when she was 6 years old. That had an effect on her mentally, he said. She was reacting to years of abuse by other people, to recent abuse by Bill Nelson, and she broke down and finally snapped. Omaima's lawyer also argued that she had dismembered Bill according to ancient Egyptian tradition, fearing her husband would haunt her in her afterlife. In the myth of Osiris, his traitorous brother Set drowns him and cuts him into 14 pieces and scatters his body across Egypt. Osiris' wife Isis travels throughout Egypt and finds every body part, then puts them back together, with the exception of his phallus, which was devoured by the fish in the Nile. But it was what Omaima said to her court-appointed psychiatrist that shocked the nation. According to the psychiatrist who interviewed her in jail, the psychiatrist said he had never seen anyone so bizarre, so psychotic in 20 years of medical practice. He said that her early years of abuse and genital mutilation in Egypt had left her mentally unhinged and plagued by PTSD and anger. Omaima told the psychiatrist that she had put on red lipstick, a red hat, and red high heels before she set out to dismember the corpse. She said she had cooked Bill's ribs in barbecue sauce and eaten them, exclaiming, "It's so sweet," and that nothing was sweeter than her husband's meat. She said that she had boiled William's hands to get rid of his fingerprints. She said she also cooked Bill's head in the deep fryer, then put his head in the freezer so it would be easy to break his teeth out after it was frozen. Deputy District Attorney Pawlowski rebutted this and said there was no evidence that Bill ever sexually or physically abused Omaima, stating, "She is a predator who preys on older men." He went on to say that Omaima had allegedly tied 2 other men to a bed in the past under the pretense of sex, but then produced a weapon and robbed them. During the trial, Omaima decided to testify on her own behalf. She told the jury that Bill had repeatedly raped her and beat her during the 4 weeks of their romance. She said that killing was the culmination of a lifetime of abuse both at the hands of her father and other romantic partners she had in America. She said that when she met Bill in a Costa Mesa tavern, she believed she had found the kind and gentle man she had always been looking for. "It was really nice at first. He was a gentleman who would open the door for me and take me out to dinner," she said. "I was in love. I was looking for someone who was kind and nice and wouldn't beat up on me and would give me love. Some love I'd never find before." She told the jury that Bill was jealous and brutal, demanding sex even when she didn't feel like it. She said that Bill would call her a whore and told her, "I'm getting what I paid for." She said that she had been raped and sodomized on at least 6 occasions. She said that Bill had thrown her cat out of a moving car when she refused to perform oral sex while he was driving. She claimed that before his murder, he had tied her up and held her captive for several days, raping her repeatedly. She said she managed to get an arm loose from the restraints and hit him with a lamp. She said she then stabbed him with scissors before whacking him in the head with an iron until it broke. "Just to stop him from hurting me," she said, and to save her own life. She also claimed the spirits of ancient Egyptians spoke to her and acted through her. She insisted she had not planned the murder and only wanted the abuse to stop. She also said, "If I didn't defend my life, I would be dead. I'm sorry it happened, but I'm glad I lived. I'm sorry I dismembered him. I swear to God I did not eat any part of him. I am not a monster." But thanks to Robert Hansen's testimony, where he stated that Omaima had tied him up and robbed him at gunpoint, the prosecution was able to present a scenario that fit the evidence. They claimed that Omaima had lured Bill into a consensual bondage session long enough to tie him to the bedposts. Then prosecutors speculated she demanded money. When Bill didn't comply, Omaima beat him brutally with a lamp, then an iron, finally stabbing him with scissors before dismembering his corpse. On January 4, 1993, the jury began deliberations. On January 12, 1993, they acquitted Omaima on the first-degree murder charges. However, she was found guilty of second-degree murder, as well as for the assault on Hansen, and sentenced to 28 years to life. She is currently serving her sentence in the Central California Women's Facility in Coachella, California. Since she's been in prison, she has graduated high school and has graduated 3 vocational training programs and has done what it takes to make herself a better person. She also began a long-distance relationship with a disabled man in his 70s. They were married and were allowed several conjugal visits before the man passed away, leaving Omaima with a great deal of money. She first came up for parole in 2006, but was denied because she was found to be unpredictable and a serious threat to public safety. She came up again in 2011, but was again denied because the parole board said she had not taken responsibility for the murder. She'll be eligible for parole in 2026, which will be the end of her sentence. Welcome to my channel. This is Mr. Scary.